Hey now folks, Nick here, and today we are taking a look at Tentacle Bento, a little card game from Soda Pop Miniatures, who is a company that did one of my absolute favorite games, which is Super Dungeon Explorer behind me. So there's no really easy way to say this, so I'll just go ahead and just blurt out what the theme of Tentacle Bento is. You and each of the other players are a tentacle monster who is trying to capture schoolgirls, hopefully, presumably college-age schoolgirls, but who knows. Now, this game was very, very controversial when it was first announced by Soda Pop Miniatures. In fact, Soda Pop was originally trying to put it on Kickstarter, and it was on Kickstarter. I believe it easily made its funding goal, but Kickstarter took it down because of a huge outcry from the geek community who thought it basically endorsed the R word. Well, let's just say it, rape. There's nothing funny about that, but it was just kind of amusing how much of a huge outcry there was over the game. I know that the Penny Arcade guys got involved somehow, or at least one of them did. And really there was a backlash from the people that actually wanted the game to be made. And like I said, it did easily fund, and there was enough of a popular support for it that Soda Pop just went ahead and spent their own money and made the game anyways, hence the copy I have in my hands now. So all of that might be sort of amusing and disturbing in a way, but what does the game actually play like? Well, let's find out. Alright, just a brief overview of Tentacle Bento. You're going to have your deck of cards, and you're going to deal 7 cards out to each player, or 13 cards if you're doing a 2-player game. You're going to take the top card off the deck to make the field, which is essentially the discard pile. And then you have this direction card, which starts off going in a clockwise manner, but if there's a special effect that flips play, you'll just flip this card over to prove that it's going into a counterclockwise direction, just to remind you. So you'll have your hand of cards, and on your turn, the first thing you're going to do is draw. You're either going to draw the top card off of the deck, or take the top card off of the field pile, or you're going to take any card that you want from the field pile below the first card. However, then you must take every card on top of that card, and you must be able to do a capture with the card that you take from anywhere at the bottom, which I will get to in a moment. So the next thing you're going to do on your turn is attempt to make a capture if you so desire. So a capture is you actually trying to capture these schoolgirls and do unthinkable things to them. In order to do a capture, you have to have a set of cards. So there are actually 3 particular types of cards in the game, and different iconography and pictures. So first you have locations, which will have a little house on the top. So for instance, this one is a color blue card, and it is the greenhouse. The other thing besides the color that you can denote for the cards are on the opposite side here, you're going to have a different name, like this is a smart location, and you have a little octopus tentacle thing with eyeglasses. So location is one thing you need. Then you need an actual student, which will have a little heart icon up here, and it'll usually be a picture of a girl. And then it'll say, again, the same kind of iconology. You'll have smart girl. And the other types of cards, you have cute girl here, which is pink with the cute. And then you have sexy, which is purple. And you have sporty, which is green. And the last type of card that you need, aside from the color, is a capture card, which of course has a picture of a tentacle. So if you have a set of 3 of those cards, you can play them at this time. Now, if your set of cards happens to be of all different colors, as long as you still have the 3 types of cards, you can still make a capture, but it is a, get ready for it now, a sloppy capture. So you'll put those 3 cards face up in front of you, and it's just a sloppy capture. Now, at the end of the game, every student that you captured as part of a capture counts as 1 point. Now, let's say that you're lucky enough, like in this instance here, to have the same color for all 3 types of cards. Well, then you get to do a noble capture. So 2 things are important about having a noble capture. First and foremost, as soon as you play a noble capture, you get to resolve a special effect based on the color and type of set that you completed. So if it's a smart set, you get to turn over the direction of the direction card here, so that now play passes in the opposite direction, and you just totally screwed over the next couple of people that were going to play. If it was a cute capture, then each player has to pass a card from their hand to the player next to them in the direction of play, whatever that happens to be. If it was a sexy capture, then whoever made that capture gets to pick a card at random from an opponent's hand. And if it was a sporty capture, then you get to pick a card from any position in the field pile and add it to your hand, presumably without taking any of the cards that were above it, if it was near the bottom of the stack. Now, the other benefit is that you actually will get to add up to 2 more regular students to a noble capture. So with one capture, you may get to have 3 total students there, which is 3 points. And that's just something free you can do during this whole capture phase. Now, there's a couple of other interesting cards here. First is All-Star Students. Now, All-Star Students have the same different types of color and type, sexy, cute, and all that jazz, as the other students. However, you can only have one All-Star student as part of a capture, and it has to be a noble capture. In other words, they all have to be the same color. And when you resolve the noble capture with an All-Star student, you ignore the typical special effect that happens, because each All-Star student has their own special effects. So, for instance, Kitty Von Braun, no kidding, you take control of a single capture from any opponent, which means you basically just take someone's entire capture stack. And there are other examples like this video game girl here. You can look at a single opponent's hand. You may trade up to 3 cards from your hand with theirs. So different and more powerful effects. There are some other different cards you can play during your turn, like special character cards like Taco Taco and Candy and Cola, who is going to let you rescue, essentially, well, quote-unquote, rescue captured students from another player's capture pile. I should also make the point that Candy and Cola is sort of Soda Pop Miniatures mascot. They're in Dungeons, they're in Super Dungeon Explorer, they're in Relic Knights, their upcoming game, etc., etc. Now, when does the game actually end? Well, the game ends when you draw 4 of these event cards from the deck. And so the events, whoever draws it, resolves it, and discards it. So in other words, the Sports Fest, any player with a sporty student in their hand must immediately place all of them in the field, which is the discard pile. The Talent Show, every player draws 1 card from the school deck for each capture they have in play. And whenever someone draws and resolves the 4th event, the game ends and you add up all of your points. One thing I forgot to mention is that All-Star students are actually worth 5 points, or they're worth 5 students at the end of the game. So you have you'll add up all of your All-Star students, which are 5 each, all of your normal students that you've captured, which are 1 point each, and then you actually have to subtract any students that are left in your hand at the end of the game. Whoever has the most points is the winner. That's Tentacle Bento. All right, well, a lot of people made a big deal about Tentacle Bento's theme and have some very strong opinions in both ways about it. But what is the actual gameplay like? That's the question I asked at the beginning of this video. Crappy. That's what the gameplay is like. This is a bad game for a few reasons. We'll get to the theme in a minute, trust me. But let's talk about why the actual gameplay is just boring and stale. First and foremost, this game goes on way, way, way too long. Now, we made the terrible, terrible mistake the first time we played this of playing with the maximum amount of players written on the box and in the rulebook of 6. Now, it also says in the rulebook that the game is strongly recommended for 2 to 4. Well, then why on earth would you even say that the game can go to 5 to 6? With 6 players, this game took 2 hours and we quit. We didn't even finish it. And it all has to do with those dumb ending cards, or event cards, as an ending condition. If you don't draw the number of event cards, I think it's 4, then the game doesn't end. Well, here's the problem. There's a lot of cards in this game. And you don't draw a lot of cards either on your turn, which means that it can be a very long time until you get all 4 event cards, and they may all be lumped at the bottom. Oh, but don't worry. Even if they are lumped together, you're going to have to add cards to the deck and reshuffle, namely the Candy and Cola card. You draw it, you play it, you put it back in the deck and reshuffle. So who knows? Maybe those 4 event cards were right there at the top, just waiting to get drawn. But you'll never know because you just have to reshuffle another card in with the deck. Totally, totally dumb ending condition. But the sad part is, even with 4 players, which is the second time we played it, and then no more, I would have no more of this game after that, with 4 players, it was still a slow slog. And actually, really, when you think about it, with 5 or 6 players, the game should be even faster because you're at least drawing a few more cards, but no. So our 4-player game ended up being almost 2 hours before we finally drew all of the event cards. So that's a major knock against this game. It's supposed to be a light card game, but it ends up being just this terrible, boring slog of a game. The other thing is that the actual gameplay isn't even that fun. Now, I mentioned that I liked Uno a lot in previous videos, and Uno is like sort of a guilty pleasure of mine. I don't know. I can say that it's a very stupid game, but even though some games can be too long, it's usually a fast game. It's usually a fun take that. Turns go so quickly. In this game, turns can go long because people get caught up trying to figure out what they're going to do if they're going to draw a card. I mean, and they feel like important decisions, but they're really not, because what it comes down to is luck of the draw. If you get those all-star students and you get the right colors, boom, you're good as gold. You're probably going to become the runaway leader. And the problem is you might have crap cards stuck at the top of the field, the discard pile, that nobody ever wants, but if you get the cards that you need, you're good to go. And you don't draw enough cards in this game to actually make a difference once someone gets ahead. So, but even then, the game does not end until you draw those event cards. That is the dumbest thing ever. So, all that is just bad. There's nothing unique here. It's just dumb set collection. I pity the poor person who gets skipped on their turn, or when you hit the reverse card, because you won't be going for a very, very long time. Time to pull out the phone. I hate it when people do that in a game, but it's totally justified in this case. So the gameplay itself is just awful. There's so many better choices for light card games now, especially with the advent of all these fun micro games from Japan. So no reason to own this game for that reason. So let's talk about the theme. The 800-pound gorilla in the room. So I like anime art. I've made no secret that I really love the Tentacle Bento games, and I love the Tentacle Bento games because I think that I love deck building, and they're really tight games, and even a lot of people that don't like the theme or the artwork have still been flocking to the iOS app for that reason, because it's a Dominion clone in a way, but it's a very good one. And I happen to like anime art. Some people in my group have a problem with the theme as far as it can get the sense that you're buying women, but you get what you put into it. The game, the actual artwork and stuff in the game never makes any of that explicitly clear. It can be actually, just looking at the cards, it's very G-rated. So, in my opinion, that's not an issue there. So, but even so, I would say that I'm forgiving of theme with that regard. Tentacle Bento does not have the good gameplay to back up forgiving the theme of this game, which is that essentially you're trying to catch women to sexually molest them. I mean, let's just say it. That's the joke of the game. Now, if you're an anime fan like me, you can see that as a bit of tongue-in-cheek because that's one of the running jokes about anime. Well, it's not really a joke. I mean, there's a lot of X-rated anime out there that features tentacles doing very nasty things to young girls. It's just a segment of anime. You don't have to watch it at all. You can go your entire life without ever seeing it, but it's there, and that's why people who like anime tend to make jokes about it. But people that are not initiated into that, I can absolutely understand why they would have a problem with the theme of this game, because that's essentially what it is. Now, is all the controversy about it justified? I don't know. I'm of the mind that it's, with Kickstarter especially, you put it up there and let the people decide. As long as you're not actually physically hurting anyone with whatever you're trying to do, people are going to decide if they're going to pledge to it, they're going to buy it, and they did, and they said that they wanted it before Kickstarter took it down. And they went ahead and printed the game anyways, and I think people are buying it. I don't know how popular it is, but certainly, they ran out of their stock on cool stuff the last time I checked. So people want the game. So I'm not of the mind that you should be banning things just because you don't like the theme. But on the other hand, me personally, I don't like the theme, and the gameplay just does not live up to the type of standard I would want to put up with a theme like that. So I don't know. It's Tentacle Bento, bad game. I wanted it to at least be fun and quirky, but it wasn't even that. I would pass it by for sure. So, my name is Nick. This has been Board Game Brawl, and I'm reminding you to get out there and game every day and in every way. Take care.